Hey, all right, Logan with Full Sail. So here's our part 2 to our Google Analytics, which is all about the audience. What we talked about before was that audience is who is actually coming to your site. And before we even go deeper, what I want you to do is stop, if you haven't done this already, and write down everything you know about your ideal customer, talking about age, gender, where they're located, maybe some of their interests, stuff like that, because you want to make sure that who you are actually generating revenue off of is who is on your site. Because if the people that you make money off of are not coming to your site, then you have an issue. So let's talk about what we see here in the audience tab. Now, we're already logged into Google Analytics and we've gone to audience. In the overview, this is just like the overview of the homepage. It just shows you a snapshot of everything that's going on. A lot of this stuff we don't even really care about. So let me actually show you what we do care about. First off, let me just say this. A lot of these metrics, we call them vanity metrics, meaning, and what a metric is just the data. You look at this and you go, oh my God, right now Premier Ponds has a bounce rate of 32.3. Mine's at 85. What's going on? Or you may look at that and go, oh my God, we're at a 6% bounce rate. A lot of this stuff, it's all dependent on what you actually care about. Again, you only should really care about what is making you money. So if one company has 5 times as many people showing up to their site, but they're making half the money, then they're clearly doing something worse than what you're doing with way less visitors, but people who are coming to your site are actually spending money. So don't ever really compare yourself to these sorts of things. And if you Google like, what's a good bounce rate or how many people should be coming to my site, it's all relative. So don't freak out if you see something here that you think is going on or you have a problem. So audience, first off, what you want to do is you want to make sure that you have the demographics enabled, meaning you can actually learn more about who's coming to your site. Now, if you come over to the admin section, you're going to want to go over to property settings and come down, and under property settings, you're going to see a little button that says enable demographics and interest reports. When you hit on, you come down and you hit save. Now, unfortunately, it does not retro back. So if you just did this, all the data that's already been there, you cannot go back and do. So from here on out, you'll be good. So if we come back to the audience tab, let's talk about some of the things. Premier Ponds, our main clientele are female, 45 to 65, around the DC and Baltimore area. So that's who we want to be coming on the site. So if I come down to demographics and hit the overview, let's see what we're really looking at. And let me pull it up for, let's say, the past month. Over the past month, our number one has been 25 to 34. And then 35 to 44. And then coming in at third and fourth is 45 to 64, which is our ideal demographic. So people who are coming to the site are younger. So there's something going on. We got to figure out, you know, are these people maybe who our clientele is actually different than what we thought it was, or maybe we're attracting the wrong people. All right, we got to make sure that we're hanging out where our ideal customer is, and if it's not on Facebook, then we got to figure out where they are. So we've got to figure out what's going on with the 45 to the 64-year-olds, and then over here for gender, we're mainly female, which is what we want. Okay, so there's our overview. So if you go to age, you can break it down a little bit more. It will show you different aspects of who's actually doing what. You know, over here, what you can see is, and I'll talk about this in our actual conversation, but if you look at thank you page goal conversation, I set this up so whoever submits lead forms will actually be, this counts as a lead form. So if I look and I break it off by thank you forms, you know, or request forms, or sends them to a thank you page, we have 8 in the 45 to 54, 6 in the 35 to 44, 4 in the 55 to 64. So we're hovering around the top 3 are 35 to 64. Okay, so that's a bit about what you can do by looking at your demographics. Gender should show the same stuff. You could break that down. male, female. We actually have more males filling this out. So, maybe we have to go back to the drawing table. We'll have to talk as a company. So that's what the overview of the demographics is going to show you. The next thing is interest. This is kind of interesting. It shows you the people that are coming to your site. What other sites do they go to? We can see, they're big into shopping, home and garden, the weather, stuff like that. That's good for outside of, your website stuff. Like if you want to do an email campaign and you don't want it super salesy, maybe you could send in an article about if they're really into, cooking, like right here, fine food and dining. You could send hey, here's a tip on something to cook next time you have a barbecue next to your pond, things like that. So that's what interests are good for. Geo is another big one because it shows where in the world people are coming from. So if you want to go to a location, it will show you an overview. For us, it's obviously we operate between DC and Baltimore. We want to see, are they coming from DC or Baltimore? You click on that. Let's come down and see what our top states are. Okay, so our main state is Maryland. Then number 3 is Virginia, but for some reason we have a lot of Californians coming in. All right, I don't know why we push out a lot of blogs, so maybe they're learning, or maybe these are people, fan club, I don't know. But we want to make sure that at least Maryland, Virginia, and DC are near the top. DC is number 7. So we want to probably start to push a bit more stuff towards DC to try to draw that up a bit. If we want to look even deeper into Maryland, we can click on that, and it'll show you we're actually located, if you look on here, we're located right about where my mouse is. So if you look at that, the diameter around where people are actually finding us are pretty concentrated around us, which is good. All right, and then certain things like down here, number 4 is Ellicott City. That's probably our number 1 revenue generator, that town, and that actually has the most amount of leads filled out so far. So you want to look at this kind of stuff, make sure that if you are located in Minneapolis, your clients are coming from around the area, not from Texas. So that's what this will show you. Next thing is behavior, new versus returning. This is more about are you just getting brand new people each time and nobody's ever coming back? I don't really look at this as much. All right, this will tell you certain things, but the way that analytics is set up, people can always, if they hit the delete my history, what they're gonna do is actually refresh that tracking cookie so that if they come back after they do that, they come back as a new visitor. So this messes some things up. So don't really worry about this that much. Technology is kind of big because if your website's not mobile friendly, but you see that a lot of people are coming to your website from their phone, you're gonna wanna make sure that you get that mobile friendly. Same with the way you set your websites up. Sometimes they have issues with Chrome or they have issues with Safari, different internet browsers. So if you know that a lot of your customers are coming from Chrome like they are with us, I gotta make sure that our website is set up to handle Chrome's settings. Because if it's not, then it's gonna have a very bad experience and people are not gonna buy from us. So that's what this is gonna show you. Mobile is what we talked about. Mobile versus desktop, which is the computer, versus tablet. Generally with us, most people might find us on their phone, but they don't actually fill out a form until they get onto their computer or tablet, just because the psyche is, if you're gonna buy a car, let's say online for some reason you buy a car, you're gonna probably do it from your computer where you have a larger screen compared to your phone. That's just how people generally operate these days, is they might find it on their phone, but they're not gonna buy until they get to a large screen. Come down, custom, don't worry about that. Benchmarking, don't worry about that. So that's a bit about audience. So what you really wanna do is figure out who your customers are, who you really wanna target, and then from here you can go down by age, gender, location. Are they on their phone or are they on a computer, stuff like that. So you can make sure that who you really want to be selling to is who is getting on your website and seeking out what you do. So hope that helps. The very next one that we're going to go down is acquisitions, which is all about how are they finding you. And that's a very, very important part because you got to get in front of them somehow. So let's figure out where they're coming from. So hope that helps. Get ready for the next one. And if you haven't checked out the first one just about how to set this up, make sure you go back, check that one out. Thanks.